On Friday, November 18th, a trial was held appealing the conviction of my client William, who was pulled over in Nicholas County, West Virginia, for flashing his lights to warn oncoming traffic of a speed trap. This is the one where during the stop he was arrested for laughing at the police officer who was writing him a ticket for the non-existent crime. About a month earlier, I posted the body cam footage taken by this police officer, J.D. Ellison, a deputy with the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department. That was the one titled West Virginia's Most Ignorant Cop. And people were shocked by what they saw, just as I was. My video went well over 1 million views. Others covered it as well, including Audit the Audit and Lackluster. I'm not going to make you wait for the fantastic news about the appeal trial. The client was victorious. The conviction was overturned and thrown out. He was vindicated, and I was proven correct all along about the law, though that shouldn't really have been a difficult issue in the first place. You'll want to wait around to hear the details about the appeal trial as well as what else I uncovered about the past conduct of this police officer. The ticket itself for allegedly improper flashing of lights wasn't that big of a deal. It's more than that though. It's about the very concept of justice and life in a free country. If a police officer can pull you over in the absence of reasonable suspicion that an actual crime was committed and then put you in handcuffs and illegally detain you without justification just because he wants to or because you hurt his feelings, then there's nothing stopping him from doing more than that. It's a slippery slope with no safety net. In that type of world, a government, via a police officer, can destroy your life. Figuratively, or even literally speaking, for any reason at all. Because he doesn't like your skin color, because you laughed at him and hurt his delicate feelings, because of your political speech, because of your vote, and so on. I think that part of what made me so angry about this footage is the fact that William is just such a nice guy. He was so polite, forthright, and cooperative during this traffic stop. Then you just see the brutal and malicious nature of this police officer rise to the surface. Then, instead of just seeing William suffer the abuse of this man, you see others, your own father, your grandfather, your son, your friend. That's when you realize that bad cops, those controlled by their ego and by their anger, they prey on the weak, on the innocent. They don't pull over a group of Hell's Angels and abuse them. They pull over someone like William and arrest him and put him in handcuffs, not because he committed any crime, but just to flex the government power that they wield, for ego and for control. Pick up the can, citizen. People frequently ask me, why do police officers act in this way, perfectly aware that they're recording themselves with their own body cams? The answer probably is that they don't see anything wrong with their behavior. That's why the title of the original video here was so spot on, West Virginia's Most Ignorant Cop. He's completely ignorant to the fact that a normal person would watch this video and be shocked and appalled. To him, though, it's just another day at work. These guys aren't going to pick on someone their own size. They'll prey on those that they see as easy victims. And now I remember this guy. We've seen him before. After the first video was published, information just flowed in about this particular police officer. Usually with these types of cops, where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, many of you who have driven through West Virginia over the years have been aware of this notorious speed trap on the 4-lane US 19 through Summersville, West Virginia, which is in Nicholas County, same county. In the past, it was widely regarded as the worst speed trap in the state. And now we know why this particular cop was so triggered by the audacity of one citizen warning another citizen about a speed trap. Back in 2018, my local community was outraged after a disabled local man who worked at our grocery store collecting the shopping carts was apparently pulled over by the same guy. The victim of this thug cop is just the sweetest guy that you'll ever meet. Everyone loves him. Everyone looks out for him. He suffered through spinal meningitis as a child, which left him 90% deaf and with severe physical limitations. But nobody in the community could protect him when he drove through Nicholas County, West Virginia, the notorious speed trap. This sweet man driving to visit his family gets pulled over by our friend Deputy J.D. Ellison, supposedly got at that time, for having no brake lights. Later, these brake lights would magically start working again when this man's brother retrieved his vehicle from impound. He ended up getting arrested for DUI, based solely on the word of Deputy Ellison, who claimed that he failed field sobriety tests. But he probably looked to Ellison like he was a drug dealer, or up to no good. Combine this with the fact that the man has difficulty communicating with people due to his disabilities, and no doubt has physical issues performing these bogus field sobriety tests. We saw how Deputy Ellison treats his victims at traffic stops. Imagine being a black, disabled man with difficulty communicating and hearing. You get put in handcuffs and accused of DUI. All it takes is Deputy Ellison determining that you look like a criminal or you're offending him in some way. This is why body cams are so important. This is the only way that Deputy Ellison was exposed. This is the only way that so many other bad cops have been exposed. If we have no footage and all we have is their police report written by that cop, they're not going to put the truth in there. So this sweet man gets arrested by Ellison in 2018. Ellison tows this man's vehicle. This man, mind you, had very little money. He worked at a local grocery store returning cards for people. His brother ends up coming and bailing him out and paying the tow bill for him. This cost him $350 that he didn't have. When people find out about this back in our local community, they are angry across the board. A local legislator finds out, it hits the news. He calls for an investigation by the Attorney General. Next thing you know, the cops are backtracking. According to WVVA News, after they aired their original story, the arresting agency, at least on paper, issued a shocking statement. Here it is. Summersville Police Chief John Nowak said Thursday his officers did not participate in the arrest of Jeffrey Jones on Sunday, August 5th. Although Patrolman R.L. McClung with the Summersville Police Department signed both pages of the criminal complaint, the chief said the officer merely notarized the document for the arresting officer, Deputy J.D. Ellison, with the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department. So it wasn't us, it was that guy, basically. Originally, Ellison's name wasn't on the document. Everyone thought it was this McClung guy. But wait a minute, Deputy Ellison didn't sign the document. The town claims to the news media that their officer merely, quote, notarized the document and submitted it on behalf of Deputy Ellison. So the first-person narrative, i.e. the police report and the criminal complaint, was written by Ellison but not signed by him. Instead, signed by some other cop working for an entirely different agency. In West Virginia, the state Supreme Court provides these criminal complaint forms to law enforcement to effectuate pre-indictment arrests. These are basically arrest warrant applications. They're completed and signed under oath by a police officer and then submitted to the magistrate in that county, who is then required to review those sworn allegations and then make one of two choices. Either yes, there is probable cause to issue an arrest warrant, or no, there is not probable cause, and therefore there is no arrest warrant, which would also order the release of an arrestee should he already be in custody. So here, a narrative was provided by Deputy Ellison, but his name is nowhere on it. Some other cop's name is on it. But those aren't that other cop's sworn words. The document didn't mention the allegations that were written in the first-person narrative style as having come from some other police officer. Just looking at the document, a magistrate would know the identity of the actual police officer whose words they're reading and making this decision about. In any event, the whole thing just apparently went away quickly. The fact that Deputy Ellison did that to this man and completely escaped accountability in 2018 demonstrates why he felt emboldened to treat William the way he did in 2022. Did he have any supervision? Who was supervising him? Was his supervisor doing the same thing? Did his supervisor share the same ethics and morals as Ellison? Was he just turned loose to do as he pleased? At the end of the day, in West Virginia, the prosecuting attorney is actually the top law enforcement official. In the case of Williams' interaction with Ellison in 2022, there would have been no conviction without the prosecutor. Same with the magistrate who entered the conviction. I don't see how any member of the bar or even any freedom-loving American can look at that body cam footage of William and Ellison at this traffic stop and not instantly conclude that the charges should be dropped immediately and an apology given, and then some. So let's for 1 second assume that the prosecutor did not see the footage prior to the conviction taking place. Let's just assume that. Now fast forward to the appeal. So here's what happened. After publishing the YouTube video, apparently people started just blowing up the County 911 Communications Center. The county reached out to me to clarify that it was the sheriff's office who engaged in the conduct you see in the video and for people to direct ire at them rather than the 911 center. Thus, I provided an update about that information in the video comments and description. It was clear, very clear, that members of that community did not like what they saw in the video. Here was the problem. Technically, the conviction was in place. That means that we have a big problem with being able to succeed in a civil rights lawsuit. The conviction had to go. Otherwise, the federal courts would be barred by something called the Heck Doctrine from ever holding that the stop was unlawful. If a West Virginia court rendered an adjudication that William committed a traffic violation under West Virginia law, and that conviction stood, no federal court could thereafter even rightfully conclude that the conviction was garbage. The federal court would be forced to treat William as having violated West Virginia law, which would mean valid justification existed for the initial stop and detainment, even though it didn't. That's a problem, because the point is, valid justification did not exist, so the conviction had to go. At the same time, however, the video had gone viral. No doubt the local prosecutor, maybe the judge, and others, they might not be happy with me. This creates a problem. If William appeals it and walks in with me, that might actually end up hurting him because maybe they don't like me. They then see what's coming as well, obviously. That is a distraction as well as a possible conflict. So I found another lawyer, a patriot I've worked with before, John Belinovich out of Charleston, West Virginia. He volunteered to do the job and to help. He got the appeal filed in time, which is not easy, by the way. They make it so difficult that 2 or 3 lawyers together can hardly figure out how to make it through the red tape to appeal one of these things. I can imagine how difficult or impossible it would be for someone acting pro se, as William was initially here. So the other John gets the appeal filed, and it gets scheduled for November 18th at 2:00 p.m. That was Friday. In West Virginia, the appeal of a misdemeanor goes to the next court, to the local circuit court. There you basically start over and just redo the trial. You have another trial this time before a real judge, not just a magistrate, most of whom have never even been to law school or practiced law. So this is the judge that you would have for a first-degree murder trial. So the same assistant prosecutor who was at the first hearing shows up. Thus, it was a good call to bring in the other John. In our debriefing session, John told me that the prosecutor still wasn't backing down. He hadn't changed his mind. He still wanted the conviction. So they had the trial. Deputy Ellison was there. He was placed under oath, and John began to question him. Ellison admitted that he pulled over William for flashing his lights, just like we see in the video. So we already knew that, and there was no attempt made at coming up with some other valid reason to make the stop, which sometimes happens. Didn't happen here. That's good. Eventually, the judge stopped the trial and said he was acquitting William of the charge because the flashing lights statute that he was charged with violating pertains to equipment. It does not pertain to William's behavior. And this is exactly correct. So the charges were dismissed and William won. So now we're clear to proceed with a civil rights lawsuit. The other John also is going to come along for the ride as well. But I can't get out of my head the anger that I feel at this prosecutor who, even after watching this video footage, couldn't bring himself to do the right thing here. Again, it's not just about William. If William was undisputedly treated this way, taken for a ride through the criminal justice system for no lawful reason, how many others are there out there? The discretionary power of prosecutors is enormous. It's life and death. I just find what happened here shameful. But of course, like the judge, prosecutors have absolute immunity generally. Now, they can lose that immunity under some circumstances. If they act in concert with the police during an investigation, they can be lowered to qualified immunity. There actually was some suggestion in the footage that Deputy Ellison was in contact with the prosecutor during the stop. We'll just have to wait and see what information comes out when he's put under oath, this time in federal court. And much more has been learned about Deputy Ellison that will be covered in future videos. So stay tuned. This one will be interesting. As always, thanks for watching. You can find more detailed information on this at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Please make sure to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, which really is the best way to learn the law. You use specific facts and then try to apply the law. Please comment, like, and subscribe as it helps the video and helps me spread this content and this message. I have a lot of exciting stuff in the works that you don't want to miss, including in William's case. Freedom is scary. Deal with it. I'll see you next time.